Why are you always so tired? Not the kind of tired a good night's sleep fixes. The kind that never goes away. You rest and you are still tired. You finally take the vacation and somehow you come back tired. I want to offer you a possibility almost nobody talks about. For a lot of us, that exhaustion is not coming from our schedule. It's coming from a fight we don't even realize we are having every single day. Let me show you what I mean. Have you ever ruined a perfect good day over one small thing that didn't go the way you expected it to? The plan changed. Someone did it differently. A tiny detail was off, and a part of you knew, even in the moment, that it didn't really matter, and you still couldn't let it go, and it bothered you for hours afterwards. You were more irritable with the people you love, and later, quietly, you wondered why couldn't just let that go. Here's what almost nobody tells you. The cost of needing things to be a certain way is not that you annoyed other people. The real cost is far more private and far heavier. Is that you can never fully relapse. You cannot enjoy not knowing what comes next. You cannot let life surprise you. There is always a part of you bracing, managing, checking that life is still going the way you expect it to. And a mind that can never put down that weight is a mind that is constantly tired. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Katia Batista, psychiatrist, and this is not a video about difficult, rigid people out there. It's about that exhausting, lonely fight so many of us are having on the inside between how life actually is and how we desperately needed to be. And by the end of this video, I think you are going to understand yourself a little differently. Please stay with me. Quick thing first, because I don't want you to hear something I'm not saying. Having standards is not the problem. Wanting some order, having values, knowing what matters to you, that's not rigidity. That's having a backbone. A life with no structure is not freedom, it's chaos. So I am not telling you to let everything go. What we are talking about is that specific line, the one you can feel, where needing things a certain way stops protecting you and starts hurting you, where being rigid starts to matter more than being at peace. And here's the key, because it's the whole secret of this video. need to be right is just the surface. Underneath it, almost always, is something far more human. The need to be certain. The need to know, to predict what's coming and control how it goes. We think we are fighting to be right. What we are really chasing is the feeling of certainty. And certainty, real certainty, is the one thing life will never actually give us. From the inside, none of this feels like rigidity. It just feels like being right, like having a standards, like I said before, like I simply know how this should go. So let me make it real, not with a definition, but with a story you might recognize a little too well. Is the person who cannot handle a change of plans when the evening shift, they cannot roll with it. The change itself feels like losing control and something in them drops for the rest of the night. They wanted to enjoy the evening, but they couldn't. Is the worker who quietly falls apart when the rules change, new system, new boss, new process, and while everyone else adapts, they are flooding with dread, lying awake because the map they memorize no longer matches the road. Is the parent who cannot accept their growth children do things their own way, a different path, a different life, and instead of feeling pride, they feel something closer to grief over a child who did nothing wrong except become themselves. Look at what these people share is that they are suffering. They cannot relax. They cannot enjoy uncertainty. They can let life surprise them. And here's the tragedy. Many of them cannot even enjoy the things they work so hard to build, the family, the home, the career, because they are too busy trying to control them. So, why would the mind do that to itself? Let me introduce you to someone who taught me the answer. Marco. Marco came to me for anxiety. On paper, he was the model of success, reliable, the one who never dropped the ball. But his team found him exhausting. His marriage was under strain, and he couldn't genuinely understand why. From the inside, he wasn't being difficult. He was just trying to do the things right. Let me show you what that actually looked like. He told me, almost ashamed, about a family vacation. Let me tell you that story. One he could save for the whole year, and he spent the whole weekend silently angry because the trip was not going according to the plan he could build in his head. The schedule slipped. The kids wanted to do something different. And here's the image I cannot forget because he said it himself. His children were laughing in the pool and he couldn't make himself join them. He was standing right there and he couldn't get in. Imagine. Then his wife said something to me in front of him that he honestly couldn't not understand. She said, I feel like there is only room for one version of life in our house, his. Marco heard that and looked really confused because to him there was only one right version. Everyone else's way was not a different option. It was just wrong. So, where does a man like that come from? Marco grew up in a chaotic, unpredictable home. A parent whose moods you could never forecast. Love one day, rage the next, and for the exact same behavior. For a child, that is terrifying. So, little Marco did something brilliant to survive. He built rules, rigid, airtight rules. If I do everything exactly right, every time, maybe I'll be safe. Maybe I can make the world predictable. And it worked. It carried him through a frightening childhood. It built the dependable, successful adult sitting in my office. That's the trap. The very thing that saved the child was now struggling the man. Because you cannot rule-proof a life. Life will always slip the schedule, change the plan, refuse to follow the script, and every time it does, a man like Marco doesn't just feel annoying, he feels unsafe all over again. Like that frightening child, even standing at the edge of the pool on a vacation he paid for, watching the people he loved enjoy a moment he cannot reach. And Marco's story holds the secret to almost all of it, which is why I never treat this as a character flaw. Underneath the need for life to be black or white, there is almost always one quiet thing: fear. Specifically, fear of not knowing. Because uncertainty, then maybe we will see, ask you to sit in not knowing. And for some of us, not knowing doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels dangerous. The way it once did for that frightening kid. So the mind does something clever and costly at the same time. It crashes the messy gray world down into clean black and white. Because at least then you feel like you know where you stand. For some people, that fear was born in a home like Marcos. For others, is an anxious nervous system that never stops scanning for threat or a terror of being wrong where one mistake feels like the end of everything. And for some, honestly, it's just how they came into the world, wired to need more certainty than most. So, when you catch yourself or someone you love gripping life too tightly, try to remember what you are really seeing is just a scared, nervous system trying to make an unpredictable world feel safe. You don't fix that with force, you soften it. As a psychiatrist, here's why I care so much beyond the daily friction. A flexible branch bends in the storms and leaves, and rigid one snaps. That's why, over time, people who struggle to bend are more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, endless conflict, and a slow loneliness because eventually the people around them stop trying to reach them. But none of that is your fate because the thing that protects you is not a personality you are born with, is a skill, and it comes down to three small sentences. Here's the most freeing thing I can tell you, and I want you to really take it in. The emotionally healthiest people are not the ones who are always right. They are the ones who can change their minds without feeling like they are falling apart. And it lives in three sentences, like I said. If you learn to say them and truly mean them, they will loosen a grip you have maybe been holding your whole life. The first, maybe I was wrong. Not as a defeat, as relief. Imagine sitting down the exhausting job of being right about everything all the time. The person who can be wrong without it feeling like the end of the world is a person who can finally excel. The second, maybe there is another way to see this. The next time you are certain, absolutely certain that there is only one right way. Pause and find just one other way. It could be true. You are not surrendering. You are teaching your mind that more than one thing can exist at once. It's not only on your way. And the third, the most powerful of all, maybe both can be true. This is the whole thing. Your partner can love you and see it completely differently. You can have done your best and still have gotten it wrong. Someone can disappoint you and not be a bad person. Holding two truths at the same time is not weakness and it is not confusion. It's the most advanced, most peaceful thing a human mind can do. Say those three sentences enough and something will change. The world stop being a test you are failing and start being a place you can actually live in. And if you want one small exercise this week on purpose, let one thing go differently than you planned. Take the other route. Let someone else choose. Notice that when the plan changed, you survive. Nothing bad happens. You are showing your nervous system in tiny, safe doses that uncertainty is not the same as danger. And if this is running your life, if is this already feeding real anxiety or depression or hurting the people you love most, please know this is exactly what therapy is good at. Learning to sit with uncertainty is a real teachable skills. You don't have to do it alone. So let's come back to where we started, to that tiredness. What if some of the exhaustions we blame on life actually comes from somewhere else? Not from life being too hard. Plenty of life genuinely is hard, but from the gap between how things really are and the picture in our minds insisting how they were supposed to be. Life is uncertain. It changed the plan. It refuses to be all good or all bad, all right or all wrong. And we get two choices. We can keep fighting that, gripping tighter, snapping every time the world won't obey, and quietly exhausting ourselves for years. Imagine, the goal was never to stop caring or to have no standards. Like I said in the beginning, the goal is to stop breaking yourself against a world that was always going to be uncertain. You are allowed to be wrong sometimes. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to let two things be true at once. And that is not just healthier, it's a softer, lighter, freer way to be alive. I'm Dr. Katia Batista. If this touched something in you or made you think of someone, share it with them gently and tell me in the comments what's one change in your life that was hard at first but turned out better than you expected. I read every single one. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.